Is Hyperia as good as we were all saying in 2024? That is what we're going to be asking in this video. I'm Scott, this is Craig, this is Stephen. Before we get onto that, we're going to talk facts. Sound like Rafael Benitez. So we're going to talk about Hyperia, give you some facts about it. So it is, of course, the tallest roller coaster in the UK, 236 foot, taking the record from the big one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach after 30 years. So in terms of speed, it has a top speed of 80 miles per hour with two inversions and a length of 3,265.7 foot. It has two trains with 5 carriages, and yeah, that's all I have from a factual point of view on Hyperia. And I'm going to start with Stephen on this one. Is it as good as everyone was saying? Is it the UK's best roller coaster? What do you think of Hyperia?
To be fair, being there on the opening day, it was quite special because there was a real buzz. Because the thing with the UK, we don't really get that many big rides opening. So this was probably the biggest ride in a very long time that was really in people's head. It was new and different. I know we had Nemesis Reborn, but obviously we kind of knew what to expect with Nemesis Reborn because we've all been on Nemesis and it was the same thing being put in, but with some nice theming touches. And I think that excitement was there because I even got my friend James to come along because I was like, this will not happen again for a long time. You need to be here for the opening day. And everyone was just so excited. What time did I get there in the morning?
I think we were there at 6 a.m.
I feel like it was 6 a.m. at the front gate and there was already thousands of people in front of us.
Yeah.
So there'd be people who had been there, I think, since like 3 in the morning. And then the roads were getting jammed with traffic because people couldn't get into the park. And you know what? I think that really set the tone for the day of like, wow, this is actually a big thing that's happening to us. Now, let's talk about the ride. And I'm afraid that the ride, although it is good, I find for me personally, I'm starting to really get into it and really enjoy it. And then it's, break. and then it's like you go around a corner and it's like that's it over. And I just feel like it would have benefited just using that energy just a little bit more, just a few more elements before you hit that point. Maybe even not have that trim break and just have a couple of elements and go straight into the final break run. Can I go into the next thing? I don't know if anyone wants to go chirp in and. Okay, right. I'm going to next point. I think the block system is very poorly designed. Whereas, like on Oblivion and even Icon to an extent, there's almost a service brake where the vehicle will go straight through. The brake doesn't really do anything, and the idea of that is to clear that block so that any trains going up the lift hill or about to go down the drop can clear and continue. And that's not been put on Hyperia. So you regularly see the train going up the lift hill and just stopping at the top of the lift hill. Then you have people, it's broken. It's not broken. It's just because that thing's just decided to crawl through the final brake run. It's got to get all the way into the station before it'll allow it to go. And I just think that, the design of that brake run's very poor. I think they could have done a better job with adding like the 3 blocks at the end of the ride. So you have like the service brake, waiting brake, and the station area. They would have had higher throughputs that way.
Before we get Craig's opinion, I'm just going to sort of chirp in on the capacity side of it. And I think for a ride of its scale, first time in 30 years, we get a record-breaking height sort of roller coaster. Obviously, we've got Smiler in terms of other records, but this is the first time in 30 years we've got a coaster this tall. I don't think the capacity on it is big enough, anywhere big enough, like the theoretical and the actual and all that. I don't think it's anywhere near big enough for a roller coaster of its stature and of its prestige. It is a historical roller coaster. Okay, where if Universal come, they might well take that record. Fort might take the record again. Pleasure Beach might take the record back. But if you're going to build a roller coaster that is going to get national coverage, you need to have a roller coaster that can just shift a queue. And when you queue for Hyperia, you are not queuing for a ride that shifts a queue. You stand in the same spot for a long time. And that is through no fault of the staff, because you see them charging up and down the train and chucking the trains out. But like you say, it doesn't feel like it's the best it could be in terms of an operational point of view. I'll talk about what I think of the ride itself shortly, but Craig, Hyperia, what do you think?
Points duly noted. I think it's perfect for this country. I think it's the best coaster in this country by far. I wish it would have been a little bit longer, but I'm okay with it this length. I mean, it gives it a lot. I think on the back row as well, it has some real good elements to it. It's very intense on that back row as well. But I mean, I just think it's perfect the way it is. Like I said, okay, a bit longer maybe, just a bit longer. But I think for the intensity wise, I think it's okay. It's just enough, you know. But like, I mean, two trains, could it have gone with three? No, it wouldn't work, would it? Because it was too short.
Not long enough, is it?
It's not long enough. So perhaps a bit longer, 3 trains. But for me, it's perfect. It's finding me fearless ride, like, you know. It's all. I think it's great. I love the ride. I think a lot of the ride staff on there are brilliant. Honestly, they get that train out so good. You know what I mean? It's. I don't know about the splashdown now. I think it's gone, hasn't it? I'm not quite sure what's going on with that. But
doesn't look good.
Yeah, no, I know. Perhaps should have done that a bit different. But that's one of those things. But I think it's quality. I love it. I think it's one of the best rides in this country. Maybe not so much Europe, but it's up there.
Yeah,
for me.
I find it's a really hard one to judge. Like, and I remember saying this like when I first went on it, and on a UK level, it is without doubt it's a top 5 coaster. There's no doubt it's probably a top 3 coaster, to be fair. And I feel like both of what you're saying is right in terms of you go down the first drop, incredible, and it's got all that energy. But like you say, it's like you look at it from a distance, and it's like it's got such a short layout, and it's like it's high, it's got all this energy, and it just you're going, and then like Stephen says, you come to that break with what was the water splash, and then you do that last little bit, and it's over, and it's like, well, where's all that energy gone? And it's like, what did it do with it? And for me, it's that first drop's incredible. Up there is like one of the best drops on any roller coaster I've done. I think, especially in the back row. The first row, obviously, you've got the intimidation factor of when you go over the top and you can't actually see the drop in front of you, and it's like, oh, okay, this is really high.
Yeah.
And then when you're in the back, it pulls you over the first drop. But then after that, it kind of feels like you're waiting for it to just do a little bit more, and it's like, give me something else, give me something other than like the incredible first drop. And there is really good moments of it, but I think when I did it, I went to America a couple of weeks later, and then I was doing hyper coasters that are a lot longer than it, and then you go to like Florida in September and do Mako, which is a lot longer than it, or it certainly feels a lot longer than it, and it's just like, I really like Hyperia, but I want it to be more. I want it to be a little bit more too. I want it to do more with its energy. Like after the first drop, it's like, please do a little bit more. But what I do like is, I like the airtime, I like the hang time, I like the soundtrack, and I really want to say this because they're great guys. I love the marketing that Jack and Kieran and the boys did.
Yeah.
They did a sensational job. Literally from the first minute to the last, they covered it perfectly, whether it was on Jack's channel or whether it was officially.
Yeah.
The content that they created, both officially and unofficially, was top notch. I've never seen a roller coaster advertised and marketed as well as them two did it.
Yeah, it was bang on that was. It was really good. It was they just, and plus the park work with Jack as well, and Dominic Gardner as well. They did a brilliant job, and they was inclusive with those guys, and like it all worked perfectly with the. I let them walk around, like, and have a look at some of the when it was being built and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it was great. The build up to it, like Stephen said earlier, he alluded to that first day. I mean, what happened the next day was so sad for the park.
Definitely.
It was just one of those things. It was awful, but that first day, the hype, it was just unbelievable. They want to have that in this country again, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was just, and I don't know if people out there have been to like these massive new coaster opening, like the Smile. I mean, Wicker Man. The Wicker Man was weird with the snow.
I didn't go.
I wasn't there. I was ill, so I didn't go on Wicker Man for a while. But going back to what we were talking about, Hyperia, that day was unbelievable.
It was special.
Yeah, excitement levels was unreal.
I think for me, what I remember is like obviously we'd all been there for hours, and then I remember when they let us into the park quite early, and then we were all in that big holding area by Colossus, and then they sent the first train round on test, and people were celebrating. It was like, it was just a magical moment in like sort of being a roller coaster enthusiast, where you got people celebrating.
Yeah.
People were hugging each other, and everyone was excited. And it was just like, I don't think I'll experience anything like that in a UK park again. It was incredible.
And people were very emotional.
Yeah, they
some
were.
people were crying. Great, honestly, let that emotion out. It was
Yeah.
brilliant to see. And we need more of those moments at theme parks. These obviously you need a ride for that to open.
Yeah.
to that to happen. Sorry, but it was a special day.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, well, I haven't really touched on what I do like about Hyperia.
Oh, go for it.
I actually do like the first drop on Hyperia.
Yeah.
And it's very unique and not going to experience that anywhere else. And I think that Thorpe Park did a great job, and Mac Rides, who built the ride, did a great job with building that drop the way it is. Because I was watching it constructed, I was like, how's that going to work?
Yeah.
Like, it's like when you're on that, like, are you going to be okay on that? Like, to be fair, it rides really well.
Yeah, it does.
And it gives some really good G-forces. I just think that the improvements that could be made to the ride is purely, I would have liked, well, if it was me, I'd probably, if we could redesign the ride, I would take out that trim brake where the water splashdown is, and just add in a few more elements, a little bit more exciting after that. Obviously, they would need to go quite high, and then obviously sort out the block system at the end of the ride, so you can actually get that increased capacity, because I don't think you do need 3 trains on it, but the idea of having the 3 blocks at the end of the ride is purely so that you can just go straight through, and then that one's not, because it shouldn't be stopping at the top of the lift hill all the time.
No.
And that is, imagine if you're on that train and you're like very excited, and maybe you're a little bit nervous. Imagine if, like, when we first did the big one, for instance, and you're a bit nervous, right?
Yeah.
And then you get to the very top, where obviously that's where the block sensor is to stop it, and you stop there, you're going to be a bit nervous and a little bit, and I just don't think it's a good look for that to happen. Really, there should be an interval or something programmed in to prevent that from happening. But with a coaster of that size, the speeds will vary. So sometimes it's going to go around really quickly, sometimes it's going to go around slower, and it's just like with all roller coasters. I just think that, to be fair, fixing that block system, probably they might even do it over winter this year. Like, fingers crossed they might do it. Like, it's not like the block system isn't broken; it's just badly laid out.
Yeah.
A bit like how Magnum is with its. If you stack all 3 trains, you then have to go and restart it. It's just a bit of a quirk that the ride has, and it is perfectly safe. But really, it shouldn't be stopping at the top of the lift hill, and ideally, it should be doing its cycle, because it's not a long ride, as we've mentioned. It should be going straight through a stopping point and then into the station.
See, we've had like Stephen's there. He has his negative cap, but he has got some positive pants as well.
For me, like, what I think would take it to like a seriously elite roller coaster, it lacks an ejector airtime hill. Like when it's got its energy. I know it's got its airtime hill sort of twisty thing at the end, but it lacks just a big airtime hill when it's got all its energy. And I think that's why I think when I talk about Hyperia, on a UK scale, it's one of our best. But when you compare it to hypercoasters in Europe and perhaps all over the world, it probably doesn't stack up as one of the best, just a really good one. I'm not saying it's a bad roller coaster, because it's really not. It's a fantastic coaster. But in terms of elite level, I think it just lacks a big airtime hill somewhere. I feel like it just lacks that with it, just an ejector straight over, no messing sort of airtime hill.
That would come with length, wouldn't it, if we added a bit more length to it, which that's the only negative I can say about the ride. I think it's fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
I think as a UK coaster, it does what it does well. It's just not quite long enough for me. But if I was only in the UK and hadn't gone abroad, I'd think it's a fantastic roller coaster. I'd probably put it above a lot of other roller coasters as well, because it does do a lot of things different that most of the coasters in the UK don't do. So I do think that it is a good addition to the UK. Like when you start taking it into the wider scope of things, that's when you start to critique a bit more. And as you guys know, we've been everywhere pretty much, like all over, not everywhere, but a lot of places, and we've done a lot of coasters, and it really shows when you've done quite a lot of coasters where it's lacking.
Yeah. Is it as good as the big one?
Oh, it's better than the big one. Sorry.
Sorry, I had to
Sorry,
get that
it
in
is
there.
better than the big one. But big one's iconic. That's another story altogether. But yeah, it's not only one of the best in the UK, it's one of the best in Europe, I'd say.
Fair enough.
But just lacking a bit of length, that's all.
Yeah, fair enough.
Should we rate it out of 10?
Yeah, go for it.
I
So
think we
obviously, 1 is bad and 10 is good. So I'm hoping that you're not going to. I mean, I don't know what order I'm going to put these on, so I won't spoil what you gave Shambhala out of 10 in case this goes on first. So, what are you giving it out of 10?
I'm going to give it an 8.
An 8.
Ooh.
Yeah, 8 out of 10.
I'm with him. I'm giving it 8 as well.
Yeah, 8. 8 out of 10. Look at that. Yeah.
It must be consistently not quite the top tier.
Yeah, but it's
We need
good.
these paddle boards to say these things, 8, 8.
Yeah, we need to. Yeah, tell you what. Next time we film some of these reviews, we'll get some of those boards.
But yeah, I think
Yeah.
we should.
I want to do my Len Goodman 7.
So it's a 7 out of 10 for Craig.
8.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit special because of that first drop. So it takes it above like a standard coaster. Like it has got elements there that are very different to anything else. So I think it deserves a bit of a boost up my rankings for that reason.
Excellent. So, well.
So Hyperia's better. Oh, I can't say that, can I?
What I was going to say is it will be quite rare in one of these ride review videos that we do over the next couple of months where we all give it the same number out of 10.
Yes.
That's not going to happen very often, I'm certain of it. So that is all for this video. If you have enjoyed it and would like to see more reviews from us about roller coasters, please hit the like button. It's a little thumbs up below. Please comment, what do you rate Hyperia out of 10? Many thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.